Well, hello, welcome to Speak Life. My name is Nate.
And I'm Glen.
And today we are going to do a reaction video or podcast to an Arsenal Football Club social media post that has caused quite a lot of a stir.
Been performing rather well
on Twitter.
Yeah, the views have been through the roof. I bet it's their best performing video in months at least. 8.4 million views in the last 24 hours, I guess.
And this post went out, so April 16th, 2023, at 1:30 in the afternoon. And they tweeted this title, "Making Memories with Our Mascot, Red Heart."
Red Heart.
Obviously, Arsenal wear the red. And yeah, let's just watch the video and see what all the fuss is about. See what's going on.
So for those who are not watching, there is a mascot, a girl who's aged, what do we think, 8, 9?
Something like that,
8, 9, 10, with her dad. She and her dad are holding an Arsenal shirt, and the players, who are all listening to their pre-game Spotify playlist, Eye of the Tiger, or
That's
whatever.
it. Look, there's Martin Odegaard.
He's signing
He's the captain.
shirts. They've all got their AirPods in.
Yeah.
And the girl is just holding it. The father is
There's
just
Ben
holding it.
White. He used to play for Brighton Hove Albion, I believe.
Boy done good.
And yeah, they're all there just signing the shirt.
I mean,
She's happy.
We
She's
can't hear a
smiling.
lot of audio. I mean, we can imagine that the players are whispering under their voices.
Look, Bukayo Saka. He
Bukayo
plays
Saka.
for England. He's
Yep.
the star boy.
There he goes. Christian boy.
Signs his shirt as well.
Yep. 8.4 million views. Is this?
This is, I mean, I don't know why.
At the time of
there's not a
recording.
lot happening apart from people signing a.
I'm imagining, given the outrage that's been stirred by this, they're probably saying under their breath, "You're nothing, little girl.
That's right.
You are not. You're wearing that shirt, but you don't have any right.
You don't deserve this.
Just hold that shirt
Look,
steady."
there's Zinchenko. He's Ukrainian.
Right.
That's about one. He used to play for Man City. But look, what's going to happen at the end of this video, because so far almost nothing has happened.
Yeah.
Signing the shirt. There they go.
Where's the twist? Why the outrage?
Did someone throw the pen at her or something?
No. Absolutely nothing happens in 1 minute 49 seconds. But I guess that's the problem.
The problem is summed up by TV's Nick Knowles, at Mr. Nick Knowles, who said, when he quote tweeted this video, he said, "I suggest, Arsenal, you get her and her family back and give your players another go at being decent human beings." Admittedly, they'd have to be coached into it, but it might be something that sticks with some of them if it's pointed out, right? But it wasn't just TV's Nick Knowles.
No.
Who, I don't know what football team he supports. It was also Arsenal football fan,
Yes.
TV's Piers Morgan,
Famously a gooner.
who says, "Come on, guys, at least one of you say hello to her."
Question mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
And then a Man United fan, at Emma Ham 41, said, "Memories of being blanked by your heroes."
Which is a nice caption. Yeah.
So the point is,
It's been quote tweeted how many times?
it's about 8,000.
8,000 times.
Is it something?
The ratio on this is something to behold. So at the time of recording, 1,379 retweets,
Yeah.
6,400 quote tweets.
That's right.
And ratio is when people's comments about a thing far outnumber the people who are positively sharing the thing.
and liking it.
And so what are people getting so upset about, Nate?
Well, the fact is that these players did the absolute minimum of signing this girl's Arsenal shirt, and they should have done more. They should have been more involved. They should have taken more time. They should have looked her in the eye. They should have spoken to her. Should have taken their earbuds out. It's only polite to do that with another
Having a
human
nice
being.
day, princess, or whatever, they would say.
They don't all talk like that because most of them aren't actually from London. But yeah, so what should they have done? They should have done more than that. Yeah. Now, the problem is, this is a 1 minute 49 second video about a day's experience.
Yes.
and her father, who is also in this video, he's holding the shirt, taut, so it can be signed.
Yes.
He tweeted a response to TV's Nick Knowles and the rest when he said, "My daughter had a lovely time as mascot for Arsenal. There was only a small window to meet the players and she enjoyed it very much. Odegaard is her favourite player, so to hold his hand onto the pitch was very special." And then he's added to that tweet a photograph of her beaming with a little cute wave to her dad as
So
Martin Odegaard.
sad, isn't it? She just doesn't recognise how marginalised she is. She just doesn't recognise the
Well, she
positions
thinks
she's
she's
been
had
put
a
in.
nice day.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem.
She thought she
doesn't-
had a lovely time. Her dad thought she had a lovely time.
She doesn't understand that her heroes are monsters.
They are all monsters.
She needs to learn.
And you wouldn't get this with Port Vale. Or any other football. It's only the Arsenal players who are this arrogant and entitled and dismissive of the small people.
It reminds you of everything that is wrong with Emirates. I don't know, what's the...
Well, what's interesting, it's not actually at the Emirates Stadium.
Yes, it's at West Ham.
So I was doing some reading on this, and the Arsenal, if you want to be an Arsenal official matchday mascot for the Arsenal men's football team, you need to be a junior gunner, which means you pay like a £15 membership fee.
Is that
annually.
all? Okay, all right.
And then you go into a sort of ballot to be picked. And as a mascot, your junior gunner will have the opportunity to lead their heroes, that's a very important word, which we'll come back to, onto the pitch in front of thousands of cheering fans at Emirates Stadium.
Okay.
But this wasn't at Emirates Stadium, was it?
Gosh.
Because this was an away game
Is she an
against
interloper?
West Ham.
She shouldn't have even been there.
She's
lucky she got their signatures, this interloper.
West Ham matchday mascot package. Okay,
Right.
They enjoy an unforgettable experience meeting their claret and blue heroes,
All
and
heroes.
leading the team out onto the London Stadium pitch in front of 62,500 fans.
Right.
And then goes into great detail about what that match
yeah,
day
they get a lot of
experience
bullet points
is.
there. Yeah,
They get
okay.
a lot of bullet points, photos and everything.
Yeah.
So part of the challenge is that Arsenal Football Club are not hosting this match.
No.
And so they only have one match day mascot, which is this young girl who had a lovely time, by the way.
Yep.
And got to meet Martin Odegaard as well as the rest of her favourite Arsenal first team players. And yet the West Ham matchday mascots probably all had just as good a time, but
Is
we haven't
eye
got a video of
contact
them.
included in any of these bullet points here? See, I mean, none of them are promised eye contact, so I don't think they have any kind of contractual quibbles that they
This
could
is
take up
true.
legally. You know,
A fine day to be blanked.
I mean, it is like, so when you watch that video, right?
Yes.
Let's just be really honest.
When you watch
about
it through that frame.
You watch that video, and you see little clips. There's sort of edited out all the breaks in between, as each player, one after another, signs the shirt and then moves on. You're framed to be told, look at how little attention they're giving this girl, right? You do sort of think, it was a bit rude. Like, they could have taken their earbuds out and they could have, like, sort of shaken her
They
hand.
could have given
or
the
they
girl
could
a
have,
table to put
This is true. They could have, in fact, she didn't need to be there at all. They could have just said, lads, we're just signing this shirt for the mascot. She's outside getting a burger or something like that. But they arranged it so that she'd be there.
They didn't put her on all fours.
they just do it on her back.
But the point is, because we've seen so many social media posts of match day mascots having the experience of a lifetime, and some of them can be actually very affecting, right? So there is one in particular that I was reading about, April 2018. Here is Jack McLinden, Everton fan, having a remarkable match day experience. So we'll just go to that. So this is, he is the first virtual mascot. Okay, so he was too sick to actually go to Goodson Park to go to the game. And so what they arranged was for him to be virtually represented by AV1 a robot, which is then going to be carried onto the pitch by Phil Jagielka, who was the captain that day. And so as he's going onto the pitch, he's able to hear everything that's going on. They can see him. They can engage with him publicly. So
Brilliant.
It's just a remarkable thing. You see there, Phil Jagielka holding him.
Yeah.
And then they walk down doing the handshake with the rest of the mascots, and then he gets to sort of engage with it in that way. So we see all these moments. And we think, almost like the entire club, because of this framing, the entire club exists to elevate,
to lift up the lowly,
and to celebrate them,
to unite them to their heroes.
And so the Arsenal social media person for today thought they were doing something a bit like that. Hey, here's a girl, she's really happy to be there. And because whoever was in charge of the edit forgot to include the little moment where she's walking out with the bubbles, because it's West Ham, right? She's walking out and the big smile from her dad's camera phone.
Holding her favourite player's hand.
Exactly. They forgot to include that. So basically every single Arsenal player gets thrown under the bus as being horrible and awful.
Yeah. Because they're all Antichrist. That's the problem with them.
Okay. That's a big thing to say.
Well, because this whole thing, it's Christian outrage we're feeling here. Because the beauty of Jack McLinden is that here is the weak, the marginalised, the lowly, being lifted up, united to his champion, included in their game, included in their victory so that they win and Jack McLinden celebrates. It's incredibly Christian. And every time you go through Facebook and, you see the pictures of, the other day I just saw a severely autistic kid playing basketball, and he's kind of brought on in the last couple of minutes of a game, and he hasn't played all season. He's been on the bench the whole season, and he's sort of given the ball, and he shoots and he misses, and the opposition get the ball and give it back to him. And then he shoots, he misses again. The opposition give him the ball back, shoots the third time, he gets it, and the roof just goes off. And it's the lifting up of the lowly. It's this incredibly Christian thing. And how can, in a Christianized society, we do anything other than exult in that Christ-like experience? Then you come to Arsenal, and they fail to be Christ. They are Antichrist, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, they are the ones who are themselves currently high and lifted up at the top of the league at the time of recording. So, although
they dropped points.
They dropped 4 points in 2 games, given away a 2-goal lead against both Liverpool and West Ham. It's all to play for.
It's all to play for. Man City yapping at their heels. And so the prince high upon their throne is about to be cast down. So don't we love the prince being cast down?
I think there's a German word, isn't there, of enjoying that bringing down of the exalted.
Arsenal Freude. I don't know.
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude.
Yes.
And so, what is it? We love to see the high and exalted cast down, and we long to see the lowly lifted up. And when that doesn't happen, we're like, you're getting it in the neck, Arsenal Football Club. One other thing it shows me is the importance of framing, because if whoever is holding that mobile phone is from a different angle, maybe over the girl's shoulder, you would perhaps catch some eye contact, who knows? I'm sure one of the footballers at some stage on that day made eye contact with that girl.
And yes, I'm sure that, as you say, there are moments that she's clearly had, right? Because by her dad's admission, right, and I don't think he's just protecting Arsenal because he's an Arsenal fan.
Although he has copied and pasted the same text.
Well, this is true,
so
but
has their PR company got in contact?
The guy has been pulled in. Now you might say this is all. Look, he's trying to make himself famous through his daughter. I really don't think this is what's going on. What's happened here is that a man has managed to get through this whole ballot experience to have his daughter lead the Arsenal team out onto the pitch, even though it is at the Olympic Stadium. And she's had a really wonderful time. And that experience has been boiled down to 1 minute and 39 seconds of
monstrous Antichrist behaviour.
No eye contact.
By these tyrants who have been cast down.
And, force, not even given a table to lean her shirt upon.
And so the framing of it just goes to show that certainly when it comes to social media, I think 95% is about framing. Like the content is so,
Yeah.
So on this video, we'll have to think long and hard about the thumbnail we're going to use in the title. And anyone you ask about how do you boost your YouTube channel, it's all about the thumbnail, all about the title.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's just the frame through which you view something.
Attention economy. You've got to grab people's attention, and you have to draw them to it. So what Arsenal wanted with that post, making memories with our mascot. They wanted that post to get coverage. They put some framing around it, and they edited it together in a way that they had not realised.
But in so many ways, when you release something out onto social media, if it does catch fire, there's a sense in which whoever was in charge of that social media, they didn't see it the same way we've seen it.
Yeah. Well, like the same way TV's Nick Knowles sees it.
But exactly. And then we see it through TV Nick Knowles' eyes, and now it's a completely different beast. And so, like, you can ask the question, why didn't the PR person, why didn't the social media executive, intern, 19-year-olds, why didn't they see what a car crash this was going to become?
Yeah.
They didn't see that 1 minute 49 seconds. They did not see that 1 minute and 49 seconds because they did not see it framed through Piers Morgan's retweet or the trending hashtag. It becomes a thing of its own. So the framing's important. And then the other thing that social media does is it makes you say, this is that! Hey everybody! You see that little thing that happened on the other side of the world and that I have no connection with, but for some reason the algorithm is showing me that, that's exactly like this other thing that is really terrible. Hey everybody, this thing is really terrible.
So what is that? This is that. So that video is indicative of what?
It's the marginalization of the little people, right? And it's a girl as well. It's the marginalization of the small, the poor, and the weak, and these rich millionaires playing a game and callous to the simple, naive joy of the little people. How dare they? It's just like, and then in your head, it's just like, what is it just like? It's just like a million other things, and you're not actually watching those 1 minute 49 seconds.
Yeah.
You are triggering the rage that you feel at this narrative of the world that you have, which is probably a thumbnail sketch that goes something like, "The rich are marginalizing the poor," and it's an outrage.
And do you think so? I remember in the theological training that I have done, that people often talk about different conceptions of sin, which are predominant in the West or in the East. And so people would say, well, when it comes to the West, because of, Lex Rex, sin is defined in terms of keeping or breaking the law.
Right.
So sin is law breaking according to the West. In the East, it's actually a shame honor culture. And so what you think about sin, you're talking about you brought shame upon something. And so we need to be raised up to honor again. And social media, arguably, is not about breaking the law or keeping the law. It's not about shame and honor. It's actually about oppressor oppressed. The dominant idea that is going on with social media is about power imbalance and the crushing of the weak by the strong.
Yes.
Now, that's oversimplifying because, obviously, as we might go on to talk about, there is more. There is actually the law-breaking paradigm is at play on social media because these players have broken the inviolable law, which is established by the gospel of grace. And so that the Christian care for the poor and the weak and the widow and the orphan has become so deep set in our psyche that whenever we see a 90-second video of that not being enacted in the way that we all insist it ought to be, therefore these players are to be...
But it's a very post-Christian sin, right? It's so think of your ways of describing in terms of shame and honor versus sin and forgiveness versus oppressor oppressed. Sociologists kind of talk about that in terms of first culture, second culture, third culture. And it's fascinating how like sociologists are just allergic to naming Christianity
Right.
as the decisive influence that it's been. Second culture is Christianity.
Yeah.
First culture is pre-Christian,
Okay.
and third culture is sort of post-Christian.
Yeah.
In the West, that is how first, second, and third have sort of come to us. And a first culture pre-Christian or non-Christian worldview is very much shame and honor. And so think about the Good Samaritan at that stage. So there is the guy beaten up by the side of the road, and the law, represented by the priest and the Levite, they walk on by on the other side. And a first culture person looks at that and says, no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
Old Testament stipulations say that the priest had to keep himself clean,
Yeah.
and he did no wrong. You can't show me an actual transgression. You can't show me an actual law that he's transgressed, and so no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
Jog on, and they do jog on. They pass on by.
Yep.
Then Jesus comes and says, oh no, the Samaritan does the right thing, because the Samaritan shows care. He lifts up the lowly and does something that was very costly to him and takes him out of his routine and, and engages in the weak, the poor, the lowly to lift them up, and does that sort of intervention. And that sort of frames a Christian society. I think in a post-Christian society, which is one way of describing our cultural moment, it's that gets sort of elevated into the place of, well, you better be that good Samaritan, or you're an utter tyrant, and and so now, again, if you look at that 1 minute 49 seconds, no one broke any rule. Nowhere in the bullet points does it say make eye contact.
Yeah, no one declined to sign the shirt.
They all did it. And so they're being held to a very messianic standard.
Lionel Messi.
Lionel Messi.
Because he is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time.
There we go. And so because they are not Jesus, they're being held to that. And they should be more Christ-like. Absolutely, they should be more Christ-like. But we're now living in a post-Christian society in which you are to be the Messiah, and if you're not, you are to be, condemned and piled upon. And
he's not the Messiah, therefore he's a very naughty boy.
Exactly. Unless you are the Messiah, you are to be cancelled. And then if you are the Messiah, you are cancelled. Either way, you're cancelled. But it's a very post-Christian kind of response to things that's. Yeah, and the oppressor-oppressed thing is putting words to that. It's kind of saying you are to always identify with the little guy. And
to assume that she had a terrible day. Right? She couldn't possibly have actually enjoyed herself.
Well, she needs to be told how oppressed she was, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I hope her father explains to her that,
that those players are all actually awful people. I mean, it can go wrong with the whole match day mascot thing.
Is that right?
There are some wonderful examples of where it's been an awful thing for a player to try to engage with a mascot. So this is a wonderful clip of Steven Gerrard playing for Liverpool against Chelsea. This is in the tunnel before the game, which I'm assuming must be at Stamford Bridge. So there's Stevie G coming down the steps. John Terry. And there's a little mascot there chatting to Terry. He's got blue hair. Offers his
putting
hand.
out his left hand and
then let's just watch that one again. It's so brilliant. So look at this. Look at this. Is a little lad turning the tables. There's big hero Stevie G, captain of Liverpool.
Yeah.
And
magnanimous. Yeah. Love your enemies. Very Christian.
Very Christian. Steven Gerrard puts out his hand. Too late.
Take that.
And he...
See, that's the framing. That's the backstory to the Arsenal story.
Oh, this is what happened.
These footballers have been burned time and again by these monsters.
But then, actually, do you notice he gives him a little cheeky slap on
He
the...
can. Well, would you call it a slap?
Very, very like that. And he's got a smile on his face, right? There's a little cheeky smile. He knows he's been done there.
Play that at double speed, though.
He knows he's been done.
Yeah, okay.
And, yeah, but you're right, yeah. But partly because the whole thing is so sort of contrived. The storytelling of these mascots and you know, all these great stories, right?
Yeah.
Think of Finlay. What's her name? Finlay. Whose hero was Jack Grealish. And Jack did the worm for him when he scored at the World Cup.
Finlay Fisher. Yeah.
He didn't do the worm, Dave. Did he sort of weird arm thing? Because he couldn't do the worm.
Can't do the worm.
He's like, can't do the worm. So then they've all been... We've been told that this is what great heroes do.
We have been told that for 2,000 years. Yes.
And we are insistent that people who are good at football also must be morally perfect. And so this
heroes,
because they've got to be a hero in every sense.
Yeah.
So they can't just be exceptional or you know, very, very good at one thing.
Yeah.
We need them to broaden out into a fully orbed heroic model.
Yeah.
And as we were saying before, as if they don't do that at this point, they're in serious trouble because we can't just have people who are good at kicking football.
Yeah, especially in a society that
has no Jesus at the top of the society. And so, politics becomes religion, and then sport and entertainment becomes political, and we put
far too much weight on these people. I think,
like another thing going on here is kind of the balancing of nature and grace. So in the gospel, you have nature and grace. You have Adam and Christ. Mm-hmm. You know, Adam the way things are, Christ the way things are meant to be, and he sort of redeems us and lifts us up. And I think within Christianity, there is that union of nature and grace that Christ incarnates as the second Adam in order to raise us up. But not so as to lose our naturalness. You know, he is incarnate and embodied, and he remains incarnate and embodied forever. And so Christianity has this sort of union of word and flesh, of grace and nature. And I think as you depart from Christianity, I think we find it ever more difficult to keep nature and grace together. And what we then have politically, I guess the right kind of goes a lot more to nature. Mm-hmm. And the way things ought to be, and conserve the family and conserve the institutions. And the left goes a lot more towards grace, which let's give people better than they deserve, right? Let's be merciful, let's have the compassionate society, let's just be the Good Samaritan constantly. And interestingly, you know, Margaret Thatcher, very much a person of the right, I'm doing the right here because I'm doing it from their perspective.
Okay,
I'm doing
that's
it from
fine.
So Margaret Thatcher, very much a person of the right.
I never pay attention to your hands, by the way, just to say that.
It would be very distracting otherwise.
Really not do that.
So she, very much a person of the right, was asked, what do you do with the Good Samaritan? And she made an interesting point. She said, well, the Good Samaritan had to be rich enough to pay the innkeeper, didn't he? He had to be a person of means, and he had to sort of invest in nature and be a person of the institutions and organizations and a person of this world enough in order to do the gracious thing that the Good Samaritan is famous for. And so, again, in the story, nature and grace, left and right, are kind of integrated. I think outside the story, we just find it very difficult, and we look at 90 seconds of that video, and a lot of people more on the left and progressives sort of look at that 90 seconds and they will say, no, it ought to have simply been the lifting up of the lowly.
Yeah.
And then a lot more sort of curmudgeonly folk who are probably not on Twitter anyway, just say, well, they did their job, didn't they? They're paid to kick a football. They're not paid to do this.
Yeah.
What did they do wrong?
And there is a very strong sense in which I think some people might be thinking this is really a non-story, right? And yet the story is in the framing.
Yes.
And it is in the response, the reaction to the story is the story. And partly that in and of itself is so significant within our online culture, is to basically say that how everyone arranges themselves around a very small amount of information is telling you something.
Yes.
And it's revealing something about the kind of people that we are, the kind of people we've been created to be, and what we ought to be living for. And so even something like this, which is a non-story, because you will find countless examples, you could edit together countless examples of thousands of people going about their daily life and apparently not going above and beyond to give every single person the unique, wonderful experience that they ought to have as an image bearer, right? So in one sense, it's a nothing story. And yet, in that nothing story, we are able still to see the story of the world in which we are in Adam, and yet we are redeemed through Christ. And it frames everything. And we need better than the Knowles perspective.
Me too.
TV's Nick Knowles is, I'm sure he's got lots of great opinions on all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Very talented man.
Yeah.
But let's not look through the eyes of TV's Nick Knowles.
Yeah. And maybe let's not bother with having so many opinions. Like honestly, who cares?
Yeah.
so many ways.
Yeah.
But Twitter especially forces you to make the announcement, to have your own miniature press conference. So where do you come down on the question of the Arsenal mascot? And I wonder whether Piers Morgan, as someone who is an Arsenal fan and famously so, felt he needed to weigh in on the Arsenal mascot question. But it's not just him. But we all feel we're making this video. We feel it needs to be commented on, and you need to align yourself, because that's how you're a goodie or a baddie, right? And as soon as there's a critical mass behind the 6,400 quote tweets, it's very clear what side you're meant to align on. Yeah. And then it becomes incredibly difficult to go in the other direction, which is why it's kind of amazing that the father sort of got on and said, she had a good day.
Yeah.
I bet that it's probably hasn't been a great day now.
Yes, I'm sure. It feels like the whole thing's been ruined. Well, we hope she did have a lovely day.
Yeah.
And we hope she continues to have lovely days. And we hope, well, I don't know what you think. Do you want Arsenal to win the league? It's maybe not after that. Maybe you think it ought to be those lowly players from Manchester City.
That's right. The salt of the
Erling
earth characters.
Haaland on £900,000 a week.
A week.
But, these are significant issues, because through these things we can see Christ. And it is Christ for whom we exist at Speak Life. And so if you would like to subscribe to this channel, you can continue to get content about all of life through the eyes of Jesus.
And you should also subscribe to the Reformed Mythologists channel, which is Nate's channel, where you see through stories to see the nature of all things.
Movies, mythology, the Messiah, and music videos, and much more. So do check those out as well. And we will catch you again sometime soon. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.